You're good to go. Just minimize it. Yeah. Or whenever you're ready.
Y'all ready? Yeah. All right. Hey everybody, I'm Aaron. These are my group members: Sam, Keely, Lena, Lauren, and Paula. Today we're going to be talking about recruitment. Recruitment refers to the overall process of attracting, shortlisting, selecting, and appointing suitable candidates for jobs within an organization. Basically, it's getting qualified candidates and matching them with the correct job in your company. So it seems pretty obvious how the process goes. Unfortunately, every organization has its own way of recruiting. They do some have 7 steps, some have 4, but basically you're doing the same thing. How you break it down is just a little different. Because of company size, culture, and need is why they all have different things. But basically there's about 10 ways you can break it up, and either way you do it, it's going to be the same process. All right, so the first step is identifying your need. It's not enough to say that your company needs a new, say, office manager. You need to know the most recent job description for an office manager at your company. Without the description, you don't know what skills to look for in a candidate because you don't know what the job actually requires, because skills and requirements and job duties change over time as your company progresses. The second step is planning. Some of you may have heard the saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This is very true in recruiting. You should have a framework for how you will search for candidates, who will be involved and how, the communication channels you'll use, and a timeline. Without a plan, there will be miscommunication and inefficiency throughout the process. The next stage is searching. Many companies take a passive approach in this stage. They'll put out only one job ad and just wait for applicants to come to them. This passivity allows anyone to apply, and that wastes your team's time. It also leaves your timeline up in the air, and you're likely to miss out on A-list candidates. Be active and use multiple avenues of recruiting. So now you've found some applicants, but are they qualified? Are they the best possible people you can find from the marketplace for this job? Your competition is also recruiting at any time. You need to make sure you are getting the best possible applicants in order to compete. This is the fourth stage, known as shortlisting. You take your group of applicants and narrow it down to the 10 or 15 best candidates for the job. So what I'm about to say is going to sound really, really, really redundant. I know that, I just couldn't find a better term. The next stage is recruiting and the recruiting process. This is basically where you sell the job and the company to the candidates. If you're getting really, really good candidates, they're going to have multiple job prospects, and you want to make sure that they come to your company. Next is phone interviews. Excuse me. So phone interviews are basically the first step of interviewing. It's a way to narrow down that list of people you have and see who you want to come work with you. After phone interviewing, you go to face-to-face interviewing. Face-to-face interviewing, I personally prefer over phone interviews just because you can read people's body language better. You can really get a read for them more than you can just listening to them talk over the phone. Then you go to background checks. A lot of companies neglect doing background checks, and I don't understand why. But your background check should include a drug test, a criminal background check, and as well as verifying any work and educational history on the resumes. This stage can be done before or after interviews, but it must be done before you make any formal job offers. So job offers. So after you've gone through all the interviews, you're gonna pick maybe 3 people that you want to offer in order. So if you want this person first, if they reject, you want this person, you want this person. Job offers can require some negotiating because the person will be like, well, this job offered me this much money, can you match that? Stuff like that. So once a person's accepted a job offer, you become to onboarding. When you start working for new companies, a lot of times they'll just give you the handbook and show you where the bathroom is and tell you to get started. When you onboard somebody, you want to make them feel welcome because you want them to stay with your company. What's the point of going through this entire process if they're not going to stay with you? So a lot of, because of time pressures and budget pressures, a lot of people will cut corners during this process. You don't want that because then you get people who aren't good at their jobs, you get people who are lazy. So the most common pressures are, the slide changes. Number one, not checking references, like I mentioned before. The Society for Human Resource Management reported that 25% of employers never check references. So that leaves you entirely dependent on someone's resume and what they say. And whether they do it personally or not, you could be hiring somebody that you don't really know something about. You know, they could say that they quit their last job, but if you just call that employer, they can be like, oh no, they were fired. And you want to know why. Like I said before, with job descriptions, a lot of times they'll just reuse whatever the last description was, even if it's like 2 years old. You don't want to do that because the job can change. They can take on different responsibilities. So you want to make sure you have the most recent up-to-date job description to make sure you hire the right person. Next is mishandling rejections and failing to supply any feedback. So recruiters are very busy people. So a lot of times once somebody accepts the job offer, they don't even bother telling other people like, oh, hey, sorry, we went with somebody else. And they don't necessarily even tell you why you were rejected. So my personal example of this is I applied to be a Hackensack riverkeeper 2 summers ago. Basically, a riverkeeper is people rent out kayaks and boats, and you're just in charge of like handling the money, making sure people wear their life vests, stuff like that. It's pretty simple. I knew 3 people that worked there, 2 of which were managers, and 1 of which was my cousin. And they were telling me how desperate they were for people because nobody had come back from last summer. So I was like, all right, whatever. Entry-level job. All I need to do is be able to lift 60 pounds and swim, which I can. So I thought I was going to be a shoo-in, so I emailed the lady they told me to. And I didn't hear anything back from her. Like, just nothing. Not even like, oh, hey, like, thanks for your email. Nothing from her. So I asked my friends, like, what was going on? Like, you know, like, what's happening there? Like, why haven't I heard anything back? Like, oh, like, we're not sure. She's usually better about this. Try emailing her again, and we'll tell her to look out for it. I was like, all right, cool. Did that. Again, I heard nothing back. Not even like a, hey, sorry, we went with somebody else. So fast forward to next summer, they come back to me and they're like, hey, can you come work? And I was like, no, why would I work for you if you couldn't even give me the decency to say you're not being hired the first time? So the moral of the story is tell people when and why they didn't get the job. Next we have Lauren with internal recruitment.
I'm Lauren, and I'm talking about internal recruiting and newspaper help wanted ads. Internal recruiting can mean a lot of different things in HR, but in this regard, I'm just talking about filling a job vacancy in an organization. So a good first step for a company is having a recruitment policy in place. So all organizations are different in what their policies may entail, but there's some good rules for them to follow. Some of these could be minimum amount of time worked in their current position. So the next step would to be having a department manager notify HR of an opening if they weren't already aware of the situation. At this point, some managers who are aware of the open position may even put in a good word for employees that they think would be a good fit. Next, the HR department posts the job opening internally. This can be done in different ways depending on the size of the company and how it functions. Some organizations have flyers and bulletin board ads in break rooms and things like that. Email announcements are also something that can be used in an organization. So a lot of the internal job posting systems aren't much different than hiring outside of the company. They use applicant tracking systems to hire internally just as they do externally. So an example of the software could be Bamboo or Cornerstone, which has internal sides of recruiting involved. So the next step in the process would involve human resources receiving and reviewing internal applications, possibly using these systems I just spoke about. This could occur simultaneously with the external job applications as well, which could make this process much longer. The next step would be the screening process. And the screening process can involve many different things internally. HR reviews the applications and goes through resumes to look for people who don't meet the qualifications for this position they're applying for, such as minimum years of experience. So after this is complete, the next common step in the process would be telephone interviews, which is a good low-cost first interview solution and doesn't last too long. This isn't too common when recruiting internally, but it does still occur. And at this point, supervisors are most likely notified that there's interest in one of their employees. So now HR is ready to make a short list of the applicants they're considering internally and also externally as well. They prepare this list and then hand it off to an HR manager for approval. This is not how all internal recruiting works, but this is just an example. In continuing with this example, the manager will now interview the approved applicants, usually in person, especially if these are internal applicants. And this can be challenging internally because these managers are potentially taking away great employees from other areas of the company. And there are a lot of politics to consider here when it comes to these managers. The manager then decides which applicant to hire out of all the internal applicants. Because it's internal, they may interview fellow employees for referrals, although this isn't too common nowadays. The proper thing to do at this time would be to notify internal applicants didn't get the position that's been filled. Awkwardness in a work setting over finding out someone you know that's been hired over you can be infuriating. So hiring internally has its pros and cons. There's great advantages to the organization itself. It improves morale, knowing that there's room for you to move up in your company. The employees won't have a long transition time since they already know the culture and everything going on. So with disadvantages, like I said a couple slides ago, there can be political issues, and this job may have been really competitive, and someone getting the job over another that was more qualified can cause anger and frustration. And there have also been issues where people have taken legal action against the company. So I'm gonna share a story with that my best friend told me. So she's worked at her company for almost 15 years. And she applied to an internal job posting, would have given her much better salary, much better hours. Her boss was notified that she was in the running. He immediately came to her and said, "Don't do it. The place is garbage. They're not going to treat you like I did." So he was basically holding her back. So which is better, external or internal? So it's cheaper. Going internally, it's more motivating, knowing that the knowledge of the business is retained as well, and it's a much shorter process. So external recruiting's disadvantages aren't as high as its advantages. So hiring externally allows new people to come into the company with fresh ideas. There's also a large pool of potential workers out there with more experience than you would already find internally. So another way of recruiting is to put out an ad in the classifieds of the local newspaper. And this was once almost primary practice in recruiting efforts, when everyone used to read a physical newspaper. How it works is companies buy ad space for any help wanted, and the potential applicant would contact the company through the contact information in the ad. So while it's not as common, physical newspaper ads are still being used today to target prospects in areas such as the service and heavy industries, to advertise events such as job fairs or recruiting events, and things like that. So a lot of newspaper ads are fully online or being posted simultaneously both online and in print. And there are quite a bit of drawbacks with posting in a printed newspaper. First, there isn't much exposure as the internet. Newspapers are more local and no one is going to read them. And secondly, newspaper ads take time to be printed. It may take days for your ad to appear depending on publishing deadlines and the review process as well. So next up is Keely with Campus Recruiting.
Hi guys, my name's Keely. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about campus recruiting, job fairs, college graduates, why you should hire them, and all of that kind of stuff. So as many of you guys know, the recruitment process is really stressful as a college student, but there's also a lot of pressure for employers to hire college graduates as well. There are many reasons that employers want to hire these graduates and recruit them. Some of the most common reasons are comfortable with technology, their willingness to travel, and many students have never had a full-time job besides like an entry-level position, just like at a movie theater or something like that. So there's no need to unlearn bad habits. College graduates also really want to know why. They want to know why they're doing this. Why does this make sense? So this is really valuable for management because it helps them take in their approach and figure out, is this how we need to go about this, or should we change the process? So a nationwide survey conducted by CareerBuilder states that 74% of companies plan to hire recent graduates in 2017. So the most sought after degrees were business at 30%, followed by engineering at 26%, and then science and computers at 23%. In 2016, the same survey was conducted, and only 67% of employers wanted to hire college graduates. So that percent has gone up 7% over between 2016 and 2017, and many believe that it will only rise from there. Now that you know why a recruiter may want to hire graduates, this is how they can do it. And a lot of you guys may be wondering, how do you hire top talent? So some ways that recruiters attract students is through career fairs. Career fairs are a great way to meet potential students. It is important to meet with these students before graduation because it builds early relationships and it gets your name and your company's name out there to these soon-to-be graduates. It's also a great idea to build relationships with professors, not only with professors, but also leaders of the school. They will help you in your search for top talent or really hard workers, whatever you're looking for. These professors can point you to these types of students that you're looking for and that your company is looking for. So it's also a great idea for your company to do internship programs. As many of you know, we're searching for internships now. Internships are a great way to help mold students and teach them about your company, and maybe you guys will even be a great fit. Picking top talent interns will help your company and your internal growth as well. In 2017, 51.3% of interns turned into full-term employees. This is why internships are not only beneficial to students, but they're beneficial to the employer as well. So some of the most popular companies hiring graduates in 2016 and 2017 were JP Morgan Chase, Lockheed Martin, Amazon, WPC, Insight Global. And on LinkedIn, I found that 231 Rowan graduates were actually employed at Lockheed Martin alone. So next we're going to move on to some tips to recruiting these college students and some helpful ideas as future recruiters to get these graduates to desire your company and want to work there. So first, as we discussed earlier, it's really important to connect with universities. Most universities like ours have job searches like ProfLink, career fairs, department advisors, and professional student organizations. Tap into these and use these resources as a way to get graduates to apply to your position. Next, leverage social media. As Sam's going to talk about later on, social media is an awesome way to get candidates to want to come to your position. It's also a great way to help show your business and your company's values, and it helps them determine if they're a good fit for your position. Next, highlight the perks. So it was found that the 3 most sought after benefits ranked by college graduates are advanced education tuition reimbursement, so paying for possibly a master's program or helping you fund your education. 2 weeks paid vacation time, or sometimes more than that, was found to be really wanted by college students, and a guaranteed annual salary increase. Whatever your company has to offer, even if it's just a casual work environment or Friday catered lunches, it's important to show that your company values its employees and promotes a healthy office environment. So make sure you mention even the small stuff. Lastly, make your applicant process unique. Many companies have openings dedicated to new graduates. These are extremely attractive to graduates because they get the perks of full-time employment while they're training and learning the job, and it gives them a great opportunity to, get promoted and be seen. Overall, as a recruiter, it's very important to look at college graduates. They're the future of your company. Investing time and money into these young adults can only help your company and the future of the company. Thank you for your time. I hope you guys all learned a little bit something about college recruiting. Next is Paula, and she's going to be talking to you guys about websites.
Hi everyone. I'm Paula and I'm going to be talking to you guys about websites that are used for recruiting. Some that you've probably heard are LinkedIn, Job Hunt, Glassdoor, Indeed, and many more. So who here has ever used anything like that to find a job or an internship? Probably everyone. So why are these websites so beneficial? The reason is that they make it really easy by making you make a profile, and then they have a search engine. Once you make a profile, you can outline everything that's detailed about you, and you can search exactly what kind of job you're looking for. Then they narrow it down even more by your location, your major, the job you're looking for, everything. Then there's a list of the latest jobs, making it easy for you to pick what you want to apply for. Most important is first to make a strong profile on any website that you're using. Make sure that you have strengths and outline your achievements. There's usually a section for a bio or a summary about yourself, which is most important to shine against other people that are applying as well. Some things you shouldn't do is grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes in your summary or bio. That's pretty embarrassing if you're applying for a job and whatever you wrote about yourself is misspelled. You could tell that you're kind of careless and didn't take time to look at that. Also, an appropriate picture is obviously important, but make sure that if you're going to pick a picture, you can see exactly who is who. So this is an example of a good LinkedIn profile. You can see it's just one person. It's a professional photo. Obviously it's you. You can see exactly what he does, where he's located, where he went to school, where he works. And if you don't have a job right now, you just have to write that you're a student at Rowan University, or if you have a side job, there's always something you can write even if you don't have a current job. Important things are experience, education. Past experience is really important because that's how people are going to pick you out against someone else. It makes your page look a lot more personal as well. So there are a lot of websites out there, and there's a lot of competitions between them. So Glassdoor, for example, this is their homepage, and as soon as you go on it, it says that their statistics show that they're 31% better than everyone else. Meanwhile, Indeed is known to be the #1 job site, which reached 200 million job seekers. So there is no best or #1 website out there. It's really all about preference for what it is you're looking for. Again, reviews.com rated Glassdoor to be #1 because it is more than a job posting. You can find out if you would actually like to work for a company. And that's really rare these days because you can find a job through Monster or LinkedIn and think it's your dream job, and then you get there and you realize that's not what you want to do and you have to start over. So there are so many websites out there, and it's hard to tell which are legitimate and which aren't. Indeed is rated 28.57%, followed by Monster, which is at 20%. Try to stay away from phony websites and not waste your time because there are a lot out there. Specific companies obviously all have a website if you want to apply directly to them. They all have a career area. It's important to make a profile with them as well, the same way you would with like LinkedIn or Glassdoor. Most of the time, a big company will have a section called campus recruitment, which is really important to look into as well. Websites that give you information about campus recruiters are a great way for you to network and meet beforehand, before a formal interview. If you meet someone, for example, at Rowan in an office, and you really hit it off and they invite you for a second interview, you already have a foot in the door opposed to someone else on the interview who is there for the first time meeting them. And if you're lucky, they had already liked you and already picked you. Watch out for fake job offerings that offer you a lot of money. Google the place and make sure that you research in detail about the employees that work there. I personally have had an account with care.com. It's just a babysitting website I've been using since I was in high school. And I get a lot of emails about scams like, here's a job, to babysit kids twice a week for $1,000. Like, obviously that's not realistic. No one's going to pay you that much. So don't fall for things like that because they just want to get your information. Another dangerous job scam happened to a friend of mine. She met someone on LinkedIn that she was talking to about a job she really wanted. She even spoke to them on the phone, and they had spoken about an interview. And when she came in to what she thought was going to be the office was just like an empty warehouse, and she ended up going home because it was obviously not a real place. It was a huge scam. Another thing to watch out for is fake recruiters, because once they have your resume, they have your address, your number, your name, obviously where you live, and they say that you're perfect for the job. And once they say you're perfect for the job, fill out an application. Then you put in your social security, and really they're just a scammer. So you're gonna get like hacked. Also, a lot of them are disguised as Fortune 500 companies, which just makes people believe them even more because that's obviously something that's like a reputable company. So be cautious if you are offered a job without an interview or an application, and make sure that you don't give out your social security to anyone on any type of websites, because that's not 100% safe. If you're applying in person to a job and they need your social security, that's one thing, but through like LinkedIn and recruiters, you have to be extra careful. The first big scam that happened with LinkedIn was in 2012 when Russian hackers leaked all of the LinkedIn users' passwords. Then they emailed every user and asked them to confirm their password by filling out some sort of like credit card information. And that was a huge scam that set like the scammers up. Aside from scamming, some recruiters can be very helpful. 97% say that they use LinkedIn. So I personally think LinkedIn is really important to have, even though it can be dangerous, as well as other ones as well. I personally love LinkedIn because I think it's easy to navigate. It reminds me of Facebook, which I think most of us are familiar with using. There's been 10,200,000 found jobs overall, which is pretty impressive. And I think that overall, whichever website you choose to use, make sure that it's legitimate. Make sure you don't give out any information, and good luck on your job searches. Thank you. And here's Sam.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam. Okay, so most of you know social media is where people go online, they hang out, they express their ideas, interact with other people, but it's also used for recruiting. Employers use Facebook, LinkedIn, some even use Instagram, Twitter. It's an opportunity to find extraordinary candidates. So online recruiting is about finding quality candidates and making connections with them. The average internet user has 5 social media accounts, or about 5 social media accounts, including the ones that I just talked about. Most companies use social media to recruit candidates, but not all of them are doing it successfully. There are many benefits to social media recruiting and ways that you can connect with talented people online. It's very important to create a social media recruiting strategy that makes sense for your company and the roles that you're hiring for. Every company should use its own unique social media recruiting strategy, and the key to recruiting on social media is to cut through the noise and to find the right people by using filters and different options that the social media accounts have. It goes beyond posting jobs as open roles for the company. You should also share content that shows your company is a great place to work, so that way you organically attract the candidates. People love talking about companies with unique cultures and things that they have to offer that sound like a great place to work. Out of all the social media networks, as Paula talked about, LinkedIn is one of the best for recruiting. Nearly everyone in the workplace that has an established career has a LinkedIn account. Since there are so many people on LinkedIn, recruiters usually use filters to find potential candidates. For example, you can be searched by location, places of past employment, years of experience, and a number of other factors such as a college degree. Experienced and talented people hear from a lot of recruiters on LinkedIn, so it's important to separate yourself. A lot of recruiters tend to send the same message, and you don't want to do that to different people. You know, if I'm friends with you and getting the same message from the person working at South Jersey Industries, it doesn't really look right. You want to point something out that's on that person's LinkedIn profile that separates them. And then there's Facebook. Believe it or not, some people actually do recruit through Facebook. And again, you want to separate yourself by finding out from your colleagues what they like and dislike about their job to be able to make your Facebook campaign. Making an intriguing video ad and posting it on Facebook is a great way to get the attention of potential candidates. Once you've recorded your video, you can upload it onto the Facebook feed. But it's important as college students to know that recruiters also are checking out your Facebook pages. The place that I work at, we came to the Rowan Career Fair, and there were a couple of college students, and my HR manager couldn't remember who was who. So she goes, "Oh, I'm just going to look them up on Facebook." So they actually do look you up to remember who you are, to check you out. So take down the pictures of you drinking. So when it comes to recruiting, it pays to go where the people are, and about 1 billion people are registered on Twitter. Even our president uses Twitter these days. And again, it's not very common for recruiting, but a lot of people are on there, and it pays to go where the people are. Even if you're just posting about the company, great things, job ads, you can attract different people that want to come into the company. A lot of recruiters complain that Twitter doesn't work, and the reason why it doesn't work for them is they don't have the right network on Twitter. So they don't have enough followers, or they don't have the right followers. So it's important to get your network set right before you go and post about a job and then complain that you're not getting anyone. And Twitter's not for everyone. I don't have a Twitter account. I don't know that it's an awesome recruiting tool, but like I mentioned with Facebook, it's important to also filter your Twitter to make sure that you're not tweeting horrific things that an employer doesn't want to see. If your company is seeking young professionals who are social media savvy, they should consider recruiting on Instagram, depending on what the job is. So a lot of people recruit on Instagram if it's a marketing type of job, art, photography, something that really allows people to express themselves in a picture. And as I mentioned before, it's important to know that people are going to be a good cultural fit. So the big task that recruiters face is when evaluating applicants is talking about their values and the values of the company. So putting together a YouTube video isn't a bad idea. If done well, employee testimonials are a fantastic way to help recruit people. Other people want to know that if they're going into a company, that the people who work there really enjoy their job. So again, a video could be more effective than an About Us page, because no one wants to sit there and read your 10 paragraph long page when they could watch a 2-minute video and get something more out of it. So social media, whether it's the best way or not to recruit people, it's a way to find and connect with passive candidates. Most people that love their career are going to post about it on social media. So just make sure you filter it, and if someone reaches out to you, it might not always be a scam. Lena?
Alright, so I'm going to talk to you guys about recruiting in terms of staffing and temp companies. So acquiring the right talent can be a challenging task because employers have to decide what type of employee they want to attract and the message they want to convey so they can attract the right talent. So for like example, I just applied to ZocDoc, and they literally put in their job description like open to people with tattoos and pink hair. So I know they're a really relaxed environment. So businesses today are really interested in hiring millennials. The way that you can attract more millennials is by creating a culture of inclusion. What I mean by this is like For example, over the summer I interned at Girl Scouts, and they're like a super inclusive environment. And I actually, as an intern, worked directly with the CTO. So they had like all different levels working together on projects. They were open to feedback, and they did a lot of like social media outlooks, which is pretty cool. They just make people feel more appreciated and included. One way a company might market itself to include or attract millennials is to post on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, like my teammates just mentioned. But it's also important for them to portray like what they stand for and what they're looking for. So if you want to, this is a perfect example. This is I think it's Facebook, might be LinkedIn post actually. It says, this one modeling agency about what a Black person might experience in the workplace while also starting a conversation about the lack of diversity in the industry. And people had really positive feedback about it, saying how impressed they were, how imaginative it was. This is a bad marketing technique. So this is a UK co-op supermarket. They were accused of outrageous sexism because they wrote, "Be a good egg and treat your daughter for dinner and washing up." And this is the Cadbury Easter egg. So like my first thought was, I really want to burn this supermarket down. How could they post that? And also I would never want to apply for a job at Cadbury because they approved that advertisement. Recruitment process goals would be to find the best talents for the vacancies. You have to manage the recruitment sources, manage the vacancies in an organization, run the internal recruitment process, build strong HR marketing platforms, unlike the one we just saw. It's also estimated that U.S. employers spend about $140 billion on recruitment activities in 2012. So it's pretty expensive to recruit. You want to make sure that you have the right talent, you're marketing to the right people because it's very expensive, but it's also proven to increase revenue by 3.5 times. External recruitment includes employer actions intended to bring job openings to potential candidates outside of the organization. So this could be a fall career fair. Even Uber participates in career fairs. Rowan has them. So it's just their way of reaching out externally. Many of these recommendations also apply internal recruitment. The way my dad kind of explained agencies versus in-house recruiting is like, if you're a homeowner and you want to mow your own lawn, you're technically in-house, like an in-house recruiter. If you hire somebody to mow the lawn for you, it's kind of like using an agency. Some evidence that suggests passive candidates are hard to get to. So you want to, another example, an employer with a mobile-friendly website makes it easier for candidates to submit applications. So like LinkedIn, you just can apply and they take all your information, so it's pretty easy. Again, you really want to make sure that you're reaching the right people, so you want to make sure that everyone knows about the position open, or at least the people you want to market the job to. Employees can go to temp agencies to find a job in a short period of time. It's a way to get your foot in the door, gain experience in a particular field. This is the Taleo recruiting software. I hope I said that right.
Taleo. Yep.
Taleo. Yeah. So this, like we were talking about in class, like they filter through people's social media. They make screening a lot more easy. They have like a ton of different assets to it. There's a lot of different things you can do. So it can, filter the technology. There's applicant tracking, time off tracking, like automated time off requests. So it actually makes it easier for the company to process, time off. There's electronic signatures, there's, self-employment onboarding, database records, custom workflows. So these applications are actually good for a lot more than just filtering the applicants. For corporate HR and staffing agencies, Zoho Recruit is a recruiting software. It's cutting-edge applicant tracking system that streamlines your hiring process.
What is it called?
Zoho? Yeah. So, yes, this one just pretty much weeds out time of like looking through all the applicants, but it also creates a career page that can reflect your brand, showcases all the job openings on like all these websites, so Indeed, Career Builder, Dice, Monster, and you can update your profiles pretty easily. Because like I was mentioning before, there's a difference between agency recruiters and in-house recruiters. For example, agency recruiters hire across industries. Basically, when a company reaches out to them, this is what we're looking for. In-house recruiters, they often hire permanent staff. Said before, you can pretty much apply for jobs within the company easier. This is Aspen. This is a website for in-house. I thought it was so cute, the little baby there. So they said in-house recruiting is our baby, and that's all we recruit for. So agencies usually work on commission. They get extra bonuses for closing deals and key accounts, but in-house recruiters get a base salary. So that was one thing I really kept in mind. Keep in mind when you're using either or. There's different loyalties and connections. So in-house recruiters are by nature close allied to the company, and they are employed by and must work within the team, HR professionals, specialists in the industry. This is Robert Hath. This is specialized staffing and recruiting experts in the Philadelphia area. When I first went on the website, they actually had a live chat that popped up right away and was asking me a bunch of questions. I wasn't interested, but if you guys are, it's located in Philly. It's a pretty cool website. And that's my presentation, so I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Becky, what was wrong with that Cadbury egg ad? I didn't quite capture it. I didn't see it all.
Yeah. So this UK co-op supermarket had posted an ad saying, and then it was like an Easter ad. So So they teamed up with Cadbury, and they had this
They're out of the UK, right? Yeah,
right,
I mean
so
they
this
are.
beautiful egg, whatever. So the co-op. Let me see. Let's see what they said. Okay.
Oh,
so
it was
outrageous sexism.
For washing up. Give
Treat
your
from doing
daughter
washing up.
for
But,
washing up
Cadbury
wasn't ringing a bell. It's like doing the dishes. Give your daughter an egg if she does the dishes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's I don't know.
That doesn't taste right, does it?
Yeah, no, and then Cadbury was on it, so I would not even want to apply either of those places.
For finishing her calculus homework, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know you. Well done, ladies. Heard that. Andrew, do you know if Serrano's here today? Andrew, is Serrano here? She's not? Are you gonna see her? I need you to sit next to her. I'm not. All right, so the assignment for Thursday, several people came in a little tardy. You are losers and slackers. Just kidding. There's no in-class lecture on Thursday. You're to meet with your groups. You can do that during class or online, however you might want to do that. And put together a 5-minute, 5-subject presentation convincing your employer to adopt an applicant tracking system. And there are actually a lot of good examples of applicant tracking systems.
Will we actually present them?
What is that?
Will we actually present them?
Yes. We're going to have it ready for Tuesday. But do not spend any more than 2 hours or less than an hour. I mean, it should take about an hour to 2 hours. I don't want you spending 5 hours doing it, okay? I want you to look, see what's out there, and understand how critical it is. All right, drop off your name tags, and we will see you on Tuesday. Oh, I need to turn the recording on. Do the name tags, where'd the name tags stop?
They're around.
Can't find mine.
You don't really exist.
It's not like the rest.
Is it purple? I gotta turn this recording on first, but it could be mixed up with the other stuff.
Yeah, well, not all of it.